Hello students, let's continue with our journey to know more, to explore more the land of lotus eaters as portrayed by Tennyson in his poem. In this video, we'll talk about third, fourth and fifth stanzas of the first section of the poem. Stanza 3. The charmed sunset lingered low down in the red west, in the enchanted land where Ulysses and his companions have reached. The sunset also seems to be under some magic spell. And how that magic spell works over sunset? Because it seems to be lingering. It seems to stay there for a longer period. Linger means to stay for a longer period. So the sunset seems to linger down in the reddened western horizon. Through mountain clefts, the dale was seen far inland, and through the openings in the mountains, the sailors could see far into the interior of that valley. The dale word is used for valley, and when they just try to look through the openings in the mountain, what they find, the yellow down bordered with palm, that there are yellow fields, means whole of the valley is bordered with palm trees, and many a winding vale. And while looking through, they find that there are many zigzag valleys. Winding word is for something which is not straight, the zigzag way towards the valley. Also look at the use of the alliteration in this line, a winding vale. And what else they see? And meadow set with slender galingale. There are meadows also visible. The grasslands, the pastures are also visible there, and they are set with. Set with means they are decorated with. Slender is for thin. Galingale is a type of grass, a decorative grass. It is also called sedge, S-E-D-G-E, sedge. So galingale is a sort of decorative grass. So thus the mariners are looking through the mountains and they are looking at the palm trees in the valley. They are also looking at the decorative grass which is over there. The mariners find that it is a land where all things always seemed the same. Means in that enchanted land, it seems that nothing is going to change. Everything is going to stay there the same forever. And round about the keel with faces pale, dark faces pale against that rosy flame. Now the mariner have just reached at the coast, and what they find, that round about the keel means round about their ship. Keel is here for the ship. So around their ship, some people have just gathered, and those people are with pale faces, pale and dark faces. And here the repetitive, look at the repetitive use of the faces pale. With faces pale, dark faces pale in the third line against that rosy flame, because whole of the atmosphere is under the reddened light of the setting sun, and against that reddened surroundings, the dark pale faces of those very people who have come around the ship are highlighted. And who are those dark pale faced people? The mild eyed melancholy lotus eaters came. The mild eyed means the gentle ones, the kind ones. Melancholy is used for the sad. So the gentle, sad lotus eaters came. Here one thing is to be keep in mind, students, that here the lotus is not our Indian lotus flower. This lotus is for some Greek mythical plant which has some magical spell. So those people who are inhabitants of that very land and who always eat lotus, those very people have come around and they have gathered around the ship of the mariners. Stanza 4. Branches they bore off that enchanted stem. The lotus eaters who have gathered around the ship of the mariners, they are having the branches of that magical plant of lotus laden with flower and fruits, and those very branches are loaded with flower and fruits of the lotus, whereof they gave to each, and those very branches they gave to each of the mariners. But whoso did receive of them, and whosoever received those very branches of lotus plant and tasted it, to him the gushing of the waves. So when each one of them tasted that very fruit of that very plant, what happened? The gushing of the waves far, far away did seem to mourn and rave. Although the mariners who were just standing at the coast, and the rising and falling of the sea waves was clearly audible, but now after eating that very plant, after tasting that very plant, that fruit of that very magical plant, what happens? They feel that the roar of the waves is coming from a far land, and it seems that the waves are not roaring, they are just mourning, they are grieving over something. The waves are just crying, weeping. So the roaring of the waves turns into a melancholic mourning for them. Under the magical impact of those very fruits of the lotus, what happens that the mariners feel that the sea waves are mourning at some foreign shore. The word is alien shore. Alien is for some foreign shores. But though they are standing very near to the ocean, but after eating that very magical plant, they feel that the waves are just mourning in some far land, at some foreign seashore. And if his fellows spake, and if any one of their fellows spoke something, his voice was thin, his voice was not clearly audible, and it seems as voices from the grave. Those very voices seems to be that someone is speaking from his grave. And deep asleep he seemed, yet all awake. Although all of them were just awake, they were not sleeping, but it seems that they are in a sound sleep, and their feeling of drowsiness just overpowered all of them after having that magical fruit. And music in his ears his beating heart did make. So whosoever has eaten that very magic plant, on the only one music or the one sound which was audible to his ear, that the heart, his own heartbeat was audible. So now what happens in the next stanza? In the stanza 5th, they sat them down upon the yellow sand. Here look at the word sat them down, means those were the mariners. After eating that plant, they were not even capable of sitting on their own. They means the lotus eaters. The lotus eaters helped them to sit down on the yellow sand of that enchanted land, between the sun and moon upon the shore. And at that time both the sun and moon were there in the sky at the seashore. And sweet it was to dream of fatherland. And how the mariners feel that it is such a pleasant thing to dream about their native land. Here the fatherland word is used for their native land, that all of them are going back to Ithaca, their homeland, of child and wife and slaves, but evermore. I mean, it was such a pleasant thing just to dream about, just to think about their homeland, their children, their family, their wives, their servants. But most weary seemed the sea, weary the oar. But they find that it is very difficult to sail. It is very tiring to sail. The weary word is for tiring. and weary the oar. Even the oars of their boats, they also seem to them tired. Weary the wandering fields of barren foam. They feel that at the surface of the sea there is a layer of foam, and that very foam also seems tired, weary. Look at the beautiful pen portrait given by Tennyson, that wandering fields of barren foam. The foam at the surface of the sea is compared with the field. There are the fields of foam, but that fields are always fertile lands. But here, that very foamy field is not going to this is not a fertile land. So he's using the word barren. It's infertile foam. Those very infertile fields. And another important word is wandering. Those fields are not something stable, something static. Those very fields are wandering because at the surface of the sea, the foam is moving. So how beautifully the poet has given the picture that after eating that very magical plant, the mariners, they feel and they find that the sea is very tiring, to moving their oars is also very tiring, and even the foam which is moving over the surface of the sea, that is also tiring. Then someone said, we will return no more. Means now they find that it is too tiring, too exhausting to move their oars. So one of them said that we will return no more. Said, now we will not go back, we will stay over there. And all at once they sang, and all of them they started singing. Our island home is far beyond the wave. That our native land, our island home means our native island. Here because all of them they belong to island of Ithaca. Ithaca is their homeland. So that our homeland is far beyond these very waves. We will no longer roam, means we will no longer sail. We will no longer wander over there. We are just going to stay over there because we are not able to move anymore. Everything is so tiring. They just want to take rest. It is the magic spell of those that very plant of lotus that they feel to stay over there only, stay at that very land of lotus only. So here the first section of the poem ants. It is divided into 5 stanzas. Here the poet has given us a beautiful picture of the scenic beauty of the lotus land. He has introduced us with the land, with the inhabitants of that land, and the meeting of the lotus eaters with the mariners. And lastly, the impact of the fruit of lotus on the minds of the mariners. Now all the mariners are just singing that they don't want to go back. So in the next part of the poem, the poet has just portrayed the changing mood of the sailors. So in our next video, we'll deal with the second part of the poem, that is the choric song by sailors. Thank you.